Hi, I am going to talk to you today about the wave of emotion and behavior that all of us experience, whether we have autism or not. And my name is Barbara Avila. I'm the owner of Synergy Autism Center. I am a consultant and coach and author and have been doing this for quite a while. So, this is based on a lot of different information from the neuroscience world to autism and just basic child and human development. So, this is something that we all deal with every day in our lives as humans, autism or not. So we have kind of what we can see here as we start our day or start a, whenever, as this is baseline. Okay. And we go about our day, and some days are, fairly easy and we kind of hang out around the baseline. However, some days we have things that happen and they keep happening. And then there's another thing that happens and another thing that happens. And each thing wouldn't necessarily be awful or stressful, but it's the accumulation of all of those that causes us and our biological systems to escalate and for us to get more and more dysregulated until we get to a point where we just can't handle it anymore. And this is where Dr. Dan Siegel, for example, talks about flipping your lid. And the reason why he talks about that is because it's your prefrontal cortex, which is the very front part of your brain that is responsible for kind of keeping the lid on things. It's your executive functioning location. So it's the executive director of your brain to help you stay regulated. And it's like it just flips. It can't do it anymore. And this is when we say things that we shouldn't say. We do things that we regret. Everybody has these moments. And after then, I'm sorry. So then, the situation can last as long as, the offending situation is happening. But eventually we come back down and all of us feel either kind of this, we feel like we need to apologize, or we feel like, oh gosh, I wish we hadn't done that. Whoops, sorry. And, some people will say they're sorry, etc., before returning back to this baseline state of regulation. Now, the difference that I see in autism is that a lot of people will say to me, oh, they dysregulate so quickly. It's like 0 to 60. They'll start yelling or they'll start shutting down, because this can also look like shutting down. Somebody stops talking, somebody retreats to their room, lots of different things. But it can either, like if you think of it as fight, flight, or freeze, some people's reactions are different. So some people freeze, but a lot of people do the fight or flight. And so if you're watching this, you might have a fighter, for example, or be really wondering, why do they always leave or shut down, or they can't say anything? It might also be this top of the peak here. So this line here, though, represents when somebody's whole baseline never comes back down. So their baseline is acting way up here, meaning they are always in hypervigilance mode. And you know what? I'm going to say a good portion, I'd say in the 90% plus range of my clients are pretty constantly in a hypervigilant mode, which means that they're always wondering, where is the next thing going to happen that puts me over the edge, or I can't handle it. So they're always in hypervigilant mode. And so then it seems like, oh, well, they're managing that pretty well, but then they spike so quickly. That's when it feels like 0 to 60. And so in that situation, we're trying to figure out, how do we bring this line down? And it's kind of the overall, how do we get them out of that hypervigilant state that they're in so frequently? Yeah, no easy task, but things like making sure that they have processing time across the day, or that they have time to do their favorite activities during the day rather than being in crowded environments all day. It might be making sure that they have time outdoors. Everybody is super different. And I also want you to think about that it may not be the same things that you find helpful for yourself, because people with autism process differently. And so they may have a different reaction to things. So for you, if you're a total extrovert, you might really enjoy and find your baseline comes down by spending time with friends. Well, that very well might not be the case for somebody who's more of an introvert, for example. So, same thing, somebody with autism may find something that brings them back to baseline. They also may need your help in discovering whether it works or not. So, I'm asked a lot about electronics, for example. And people with autism may say, "Oh, well, electronics um, is what I escape to." Well, an escape, they may still be up here, but more in control. And so, really, that's a conversation with them, if at all possible, to help them realize, does this work for you to help you feel calmer or not? And what does calm even mean? Like, some people have been up in this hyper alert or hyper vigilant state for a very, very long time and may not even know what feeling safe or feeling calm even means. So you may need to start there. The last thing I'm going to say is that another way to bring somebody down and their baseline back, to kind of where it's at a more manageable level, is through co-regulation. We all as humans do that from a developmental perspective, that we have to co-regulate or have someone's help. When our lid is flipped as children, excuse me, when our lid is flipped as children, we need to have somebody else help us. So if you think of a really young child who's really upset and distressed, you're not just going to tell them, go take care of yourself and re-regulate. You're going to rock them. You're going to talk to them. You're going to try and connect with them. And essentially, you're letting them borrow your regulation. So same thing in autism. They may need your one-on-one support to re-regulate, which you can probably also imagine that if you're up here telling them to calm down, they probably won't. So yeah, get creative, let them borrow your regulations. Sometimes that, for co-regulation and bringing them back down to a workable mode more on a regular basis, might be playing a game together that feels good, doing something together where they can also borrow your regulation. All right, that's it. Let me know if you have questions.